just old. It was just, it just need to be refreshed.
Ready, Andrew?
Hold on just a second. It's just, the internet's slow. We are live.
So I'll bring the meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Monday, July 8th. I'd like to say something at the beginning here that everybody's aware that tomorrow is 1 year anniversary from all hell breaking loose in the village of Johnson. We've recovered fairly well, I believe. Still a lot of recovery to do, but we'll move forward and keep kicking and bring everything to order and hope that it don't happen again. Are there any changes or additions to the agenda?
Johnson Works will defer until future. We're investigating details.
Okay. So looking for a motion to approve minutes from Tuesday meeting July or June 10th, 2024. Motion to approve the minutes. We have a second? Any discussion? No corrections, GiGi? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. So the trustees asked Eric to extend an email to the president of VSU. Is that correct? Change name on me.
BTSU.
ETSU, okay. David Bergh, is that correct? That's it. As I was telling you a little earlier, we had a lot of questions from residents about the future of the college, and the trustees actually have concerns about the future of the college with our utilities and stuff, so.
Sure.
We invited you down, hopefully to give some insight to the future. We'll start it out with some questions from the trustee board. Steve?
So I just wondered, with the infrastructure, it's a broad question, many parts, and but that's probably one of your biggest concerns and our biggest concerns. So what your plans are in general to deal with that, and if you aren't going to deal with it, what your plans are to do something else, alternatives.
Sure.
So
And if you don't mind, if I could just take a quick moment to introduce myself to short watching and here just to give a little background, just so folks are aware. I spent 19 years earlier in my career working at the Johnson campus, so I'm very familiar with the community, and actually, as part of that time, served on the planning commission here in Johnson for several years. And actually ended up representing Johnson at the Lemoyle County Planning Commission for a while, and chaired that board, and also was involved with the board of Laraway School down the road. So just wanted folks to have to know that I have a very good understanding of this community in this region. I think in terms of the plan for the infrastructure on the campuses, you're right. I could talk about this for quite some time, so I'll try to keep it efficient. First of all, part of the state's requirement of us, and we're engaged in some really positive conversations, and I think our support level from the state is the best that I can recall in all my years working within the system. The governor and the legislature have been very supportive of us, and as part of that, they've indicated it's important that we maintain our physical campuses as vibrant campuses that serve the regions that surround them, and that includes this campus. So this campus is going to stay here and continue operating. I think that's important for folks to know right from the onset. In terms of the physical campus, and I'm going to talk about the whole system, but then I can talk about Johnson a little more specifically. But obviously these campuses, and there's 5 of them that make up BTSU. There's Linden, Castleton, and then Williston and Randolph, right? So there's physical campuses in those 5 locations in addition to online programming. And when you look at across the totality of all of those campuses, we're probably about 30% overbuilt, meaning we have about 30% more physical space than we need and that we anticipate needing in the future. these campuses, most of the legacy campuses including Johnson, were built at a very different time, very different demographics. Many more 18 to 22-year-olds in, in Vermont and in New England. And were built, without today's kind of teaching and learning and technology needs in mind. So what we're trying to do on the Johnson campus is similar to what we're looking at doing on all of our campuses, which is determining the core central spaces that we need to continue to best serve students and to invest in those spaces, upgrade them, make them more, make them consistent with the needs of our current students, and then really be thoughtful and have some really thoughtful conversations with the campus community and the larger community about what to do with spaces that we identify that we don't need. And I think in Johnson in particular, there's some really interesting possibilities when, we mentioned the flood right at the beginning. Being here in a floodplain, I just saw the article in the last week or so, I think was it 7 days? I'm not sure which publication, but it had an article about how Johnson is still, there's a lot of rebuilding and a lot that's yet to come back from the flood just a year ago. And talking about how you build climate or communities that are more climate resilient. Well, I think, here you've got a case where in Johnson, where we, and we're going to get more specific as we look into it harder about what particular spaces we're talking about. But we know we have spaces beyond what we're going to need. We know that there could be community and regional needs. And so how do we kind of work together to think about ways of using creatively parts of the campus in ways that can be beneficial to the community, but also can be beneficial to the campus itself. It's certainly not detrimental to it. I mean, obviously our student experience is still at the core of what we want to be doing there. So I guess the short, we've started that look and kind of done some preliminary identification of, across our system, including at Johnson, there's some buildings, a few, I don't think any on this campus that probably are just past their prime and, aren't worthy of much more investment. But then there's a number that are in good shape that might be good candidates for repurposing, for reusing, for temporarily or permanently. And I think the key is we want to do that in a really thoughtful way. So it's not just a parcel here, a parcel there going for one use or another. It's like, what is the vision for how it can work as a whole integrated campus with other uses? So that's kind of the short version of that question. Does that get at your?
It begins to.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. My next question is probably something that's a little easier and quicker for you to answer. The enrollment for this year.
Yeah.
For the freshman class.
Well, the good news, and I was just in a meeting this afternoon where I was getting updates. We're overall for the whole university, we're running about 7% ahead.
Okay. We had recording to live streaming.
Everything I said before that, it's off the record.
That's right. Well, no, it's still on YouTube.
Yeah, we're as of today, year over year, we've got about 7% more deposits than we had at this time last year for first year students. So, and I think that's really notable for a few reasons. Not the least of which is if you see in the news every day that schools are announcing how far off they are from this time last year because of, I don't know if you followed the whole thing with FAFSA this year, but there was a real mix up with the process for students to apply for student aid at the federal level. It had nothing to do with Vermont or anything, but it affected every college in the country. And so a lot of schools are really, as a result of that, trailing where they were at this time last year. So I think in that context, being where we're at, Johnson, I'll just full disclosure, I think the Johnson campus is not seeing that same level of gain year over year. So we know that this is a campus that we need to give some additional attention to. But the thing is, right now, fiscally, it's all one operation. So 7% up across the board is beneficial.
So it's viable that you will have enough class to have to do the programs that are.
Yes. Out of that percentage, now that I have it, my married, yes, but it's. Yeah, well, on campus population, that's gonna take some time because, one of the challenges is you lose a number, you have a couple of down years in a row, particularly like during COVID. 4-year cycle, they're gonna do this to come through, right? So even if we are seeing gains year over year for a couple of years, you're still behind where you were 4 years ago. So that's why I take this long view lessons.
Steve, did you have any more
I
questions?
have one more question. The employment, part-time and full-time employees, are you planning to keep them all, and roughly how many are there?
Yeah, you know what? Should have brought more data sheets with me to the meeting. In terms of the numbers, I don't have them off the top of my head, but yeah, we're not planning any dramatic or really any changes from the current number of employees at the end of this year.
Thank you.
You did?
Wait, well, my first question was covered with the facilities use.
Oh, okay.
And my second was about the shape facility.
Mhm.
And it's my understanding that there are passwords available for community members to use that facility. And are you continuing to maintain that facility for students and for the community? And also, is there the potential for more of a partnership, for instance, this is completely out of my field, but perhaps offering a swimming lesson to the students of the elementary school, or something to really engage the community and getting them to the campus to, engage.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think that general theme of increased partnerships is one we want to explore every place we can, whether the shape or other elements of the campus is finding ways to for the community to be seeing the campus as a resource. And so the short answer to your question is yes, we do plan to maintain and continue to utilize the shape facility for our students and for community use, and exploring more ways of getting folks up there and more programming and partnering with the local school. I mean, all of that are things I'd like to see. Yeah. Great.
So,
Very good.
Hear this part, we can't hear. We're very sheeps.
Okay.
Can you turn the thing again there? That was making. I think it's a great.
The air conditioning. You don't want to turn that.
thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Vice Chair.
Okay, so of course, rumor mills, you know how those go. So the rumor of other business entities utilizing your space up there. Is there anything like that that's going on?
Yeah,
that you
so
know of?
let me, rumor, it's funny, I should devote like half hour of every meeting I go to these days to rumor control, right? Because as you can imagine, there's a lot of that. So, as I was mentioning earlier, if folks arrived late, I mean, I think there will be the potential to have really interesting conversations about creative uses of portions of the campus in the future in partnership with other organizations. I can tell you there is no specific plan in the works right now with any particular individual or I think that, over time and in history, different folks have expressed interest about what different things might become or be, but there's no active planning conversations of that sort. Which isn't to say we wouldn't want to have those, but we want to make sure it's done in an integrated way where, again, it's not a one-off, we do something here, we do something there. We really want to be thoughtful about what happens up there all can work together. But I do think, it's important to know that, I mentioned earlier that we need to not only be looking at repurposing some portions of the campus, but also investing in the parts that we've identified as critical to our needs and use. And I know that, in terms of rumor control, we have new signage that's just gone up on the campus probably in the last month or so. I just saw it today for the first time because I don't think most of it was even there at commencement. And I've gotten some great feedback from employees of the college to say that alone was a real shot in the arm, because I think there was a real concern over time when they weren't seeing improvements and they weren't seeing, it felt like there was deferred maintenance piling up. And so to see some tangible signs of investment. So the other thing I'll just note that's a really important thing for folks to be aware of is that we're going to be making a multi-million-dollar investment in this campus in terms of building up infrastructure for a nursing program. Yeah. And that's probably close to a $3 million investment. The bids are out right now, so I think that the work is anticipated for next summer, for that renovation. So again, probably close to $3 million investment in this campus to bring nursing program to it. So I think that's another important thing to be aware of in terms of rumor control. Obviously in terms of the future of the campus, we do have plans for it.
What building are you renovating? $3 million property.
I think some of that work has been looked at the upper portions of the LLC facility, the library learning center. I don't know that it's limited in that scope. I mean, some of the design is still in discussion.
And is the nursing program for people out of high school, out of college?
Yeah,
What
well,
age?
I think one of the things that we really love about our nursing program, we have, one of the things we're really trying to emphasize is we're trying to meet the students where they are in all stages in life. We have a lot of non-traditional students. We have a lot of students who, are changing careers in life and coming back for training. And I think nursing is a great example of that, where there are programs for students coming straight out of high school to get to a certain credential level. And then we are actually partnering with a lot of hospitals throughout the state to enable employees, so folks already working in healthcare that want to increase their credentials and maybe, get promoted to a higher level position within nursing, all the way up to becoming nursing instructors themselves. So it's all the way from a practical nursing certificate, all the way up to we now have a master's degree in nursing as well, that enables those folks to become instructors. I would need to confirm that the master's portion would be available here. Yes. Well, the program differential, I'll confirm that, but yeah, nursing instruction will, at a pretty significant scale, will take place on the Johnson. Yeah.
Okay, everybody, just for the public, we'll let the trustees finish up, and then I'll let everybody have a couple of questions or whatever, but when you do, you need to speak your name so it can be recorded in minutes.
My last question is this. So prior to COVID, what was your capacity? And then here, post-COVID, what are we looking at for our capacity for 2024, 2025?
Yeah, Fargo would know that. Fargo. Campus, you know what, it's campus capacity residentially at one point, for some reason, the number 556 that they had, then, it would be the same capacity currently. It's just a lot of that capacity is not being used, right?
Well, utilized, like,
right.
we at like 50%, and then now we're at 20%.
Yeah, I would need to get a breakdown on the campus with the residential numbers to get the percentages. I mean, again, full disclosure, as folks have probably noticed if you've been up on campus, there are entire sections of buildings that are not being utilized. And again, that's in part attempting to create vibrancy and energy where we do have students, right? So, some of that's been very intentional to take certain floors or buildings offline and consolidate folks, and obviously there's cost efficiencies and staffing efficiencies to that as well. So, yeah, and so, when we talk about being 30% overbuilt, it's not just a matter of thinking creatively about how to utilize some of the spaces we've identified as potentially not needing in the future. It's also at the same time, we want more students, obviously, on all of these campuses, including at Johnson. So that's a real part of the enrollment recruitment strategies, which again, we're just kind of in the first year of fully launching a lot of those as VTSU. And so again, we're feeling good about those numbers as discussed earlier in terms of where we are year over year, but especially on this campus, we've got a lot of room for growth. I mean, I mentioned all my years spending 19 years on this campus and being away for about 7.5 years and coming back. I mean, it struck me. I mean, quite honestly, the first time I walked up on that campus earlier this year, I mean, it's one thing, I think, if you were here throughout that time and kind of saw the gradual decline in numbers, but to be gone for a period of time, come back, see a place, and I'll be honest, I mean, it was not recognizable to me the first time I came back on this campus in terms of the numbers and the energy. So coming out of COVID, so that's definitely something that we need to tackle.
We have a trustee on fire call, so Will didn't send in any questions.
He didn't.
I guess so. My biggest concern, of course, is our utilities. And within the last 2 years, the Board of Trustees has given a $2,500 meter to figure out how to save you guys money up there. Our water usage is down 35% or so,
About 20%.
along with, you know, the sewer and electric. So, as you know, our sewer treatment plant was destroyed, so we're hopefully gonna relocate and rebuild the plant. So a lot of what goes on up there affects on what we're gonna do with our new construction and stuff. So that's my first question. My second question is, are you guys considering what happens at Green Mountain Tech Center up there and the 7 towns that go to it to merge their classes with possible classes from here? Because a lot of the kids in this area, you know, don't have the funds to do some of the other colleges.
Right.
So most of your students aren't from the Loyal County area, you know, a few of them are. But I was thinking that, you know, if the college looked at what Green Mountain Tech does in a lot of their classes and their training and stuff, as the next step to get in the college affairs, any consideration? I mean, has it been looked at, you know, I mean?
I don't know that there's been a specific pursuit of a partnership or arrangement with Green Mountain Tech. I honestly don't know, but I think that would be right in the category of things that we're very interested in exploring. I mean, the university does have some really good apprenticeship programs that have been really well subscribed, like plumbing, electric, those sorts of programs. Those have tended to be more based at our Randolph campus. No reason that we couldn't explore if there was a way that we could, you know, partner on some of those initiatives as well as other programs associated with the tech program here. I mean, it makes sense, right? I mean,
Yep.
it's just an obvious place to look for partnerships. So I think, I mean, I think that would be one of the main takeaways is we're looking for those kind of relationships anywhere we can find them. Where can we find efficiencies together in terms of use of the campus, but also in terms of how the programs can align, because at the end of the day, that's what these campuses are here for, is to serve Vermonters and to serve the communities and regions that they're in. And so that's, you know, one way to be best apprised of what those needs are, is to be working with the local schools.
And then my other concern was that in the past, the college has been giving us $6,000 for emergency services calls.
Okay.
And that's gone away. Is there any chance of that returning?
I'd be happy to look into that. I probably don't want to commit any money on live on YouTube tonight, but that's the first that I was aware of that situation, so I'd be happy to look into that.
2 years, Rosemary?
Yeah, but it was 2 years ago.
Okay.
And then, my final question, which involves money again. The pilot payment.
Yeah.
Payment in lieu of taxes.
Yeah.
So as you know, every Johnson residence taxes just went up 23%. $500 increase in the property tax. With the college gonna kick out some more. It hasn't been adjusted in how long?
Based on grants.
Correct.
I believe it's set by legislature
So,
too.
so the college's taxes are going down and all the residents in the town, the colleges have gone up.
Yeah, so I'm not familiar with the formula that's based on. You're saying it's set by the
I
legislature.
believe it's set by legislature, not the college.
It is set by legislation. Okay, we got that.
I mean, I'm happy to, I'll go back and we'll get more information on that, because again, I wasn't familiar with how that rate is set, but interesting to know.
So again, I'm not begging for money. I'm just
I
wondering,
hear ya.
some of the money is going away, you know, and increasing it all. And everything else in the world has increased, so. But, anybody got any, but Derek, do you have any?
I do,
His are gonna be the technical.
Okay.
I had it for just, oh, there it was. I was talking to someone else involved in college enrollment, and for the life of me, I can't remember who it was, but it was recently, and they were saying they were just now noticing a uptick in the traditional students wanting to be back onto the campus life, you know. Are you seeing that as well?
Yeah, well, I would have to look and see what, so for those folks who just joined, I was saying earlier, we're about 7% above where we were this time last year in terms of new student deposits across the whole university. So it's every campus, every modality. Johnson campus is not at that level. It's much flatter, which is indicative for this campus to be getting some more attention in terms of some specific improvement efforts. Yeah, I think in terms of seeing a return, was the question, was that in the context of kind of post-COVID, in other words?
Right,
Like,
we had the huge dive off, everyone, also everyone liked sitting at home with their PJs,
yes.
but now you're starting to see a little bit of a resurgence in, hey, I wanna go do the campus life.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think we're seeing, what's interesting is we're seeing both things happen. We're seeing the people have discovered the convenience and ease of doing a lot of things online. And so there's been more demand for flexible course delivery, online course delivery. And at the same time, you're absolutely right. I mean, people have also experienced the limitations of that, wanting to have more in-person opportunities, experiential opportunities of the sort that you only get when you're on a college campus. So, so nationally, there has been some comeback in that I've seen or in that, and we are starting to see a bit of that in terms of, and that's a driver for these campuses and for them to kind of develop their own identity of and cultures that attract students. And that's one of the things we've been trying to do this year in a first year of a new university. And that's the other thing. This was literally we're 1 year into the creation of a new university, right? Is how do you maintain the culture and the identity and the history of the individual campuses and what makes them special and what makes them a draw, while at the same time demonstrating to students the benefits of being part of a larger university. And the students, no surprise, like with most things, the students are always ahead of the rest of us, right? And so I've heard a lot of great things from students about their positive experiences with what are called in-person plus classes, where say you're a student at Johnson and you're taking 3 of your 4 classes at Johnson, but then if for one of your electives, you're able now to be taking a class that's based at Randolph, and you're kind of, for that class, you're beaming in online, but then there's people in the classroom as well. And what I've heard from students and from some faculty is that that's really increased the quality of some of the campus or the course conversations and brought some different perspectives to bear. So I think there's a place for both. But to your initial question, I think, yeah, the desire to kind of have some sense of return to normalcy. One of our admissions leads said this year was really the first time it felt like a normal, like kind of almost pre-COVID sort of recruitment cycle. This spring was really the first time that admissions events were feeling the way that they used to before COVID. So I think there is a return to that piece of it.
Good. I lost the other one.
I can't help you.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll turn to the public.
There it was.
Right.
So we've got the new nursing focus.
Yeah.
Does Johnson also still remain the primary teacher college in Vermont?
There's the education courses here. What's interesting is probably at least 3 of the legacy institutions that are now part of BGSU had a teachers college component at one point. So it's part of the legacy and identity of Linden and Castleton, for example, as well, in addition to Johnson. But certainly, I think Johnson's especially identified with that across the state. When you look at teachers around the state, it's the prevalence is still there and the network is still there. So yeah, that's still a part of the offerings here.
Great. Good.
Okay, so I asked the president to come down, and we told him we'd only talk to him for about an hour. So we have a half hour left. You might go a little bit longer. So if you raise your hand, I'll call on you and just state your name and go from there.
Right. I was thinking originally you were talking about the local library, which I've noticed is right, but the libraries remain open and they are not all digital. They still have books, and I've learned more about this than I ever thought I would in terms of what they call the leaning or anyway, the process. But there is a best practice in library oversight, which all libraries always have been and should be doing, which is that you periodically go through your collection and update it and remove items from it. So that continues, but we continue to have print materials in addition to, I think there's members having more robust online access as well. So but the librarians are still working and libraries are still there. Yeah.
Diane Lahulian, I was late, so I don't know if you talked about the vision for Vermont State University. What is the vision
What is the vision?
for this campus or for this campus?
Oh, for Johnson specifically. Well, I did at the beginning, and this bears repeating again, if folks, I think it gets at a lot of the questions and rumors people are asking about. I mean, let me just say, there is no plan to close this campus, which is the worst of the. In fact, there is a plan to invest in facilities that are deemed as really forward to, the student and teaching and learning experience on the campus. And at the same time, and this is across VTSU, not just at Johnson, we estimate we're about 30% overbuilt. And so having 30% physical space than we need or anticipate needed, right? And again, that's because built in a different time with different demographics and different needs. And so, at the same time that we're investing, have conversations with the campus community and the local community about how do we think about portions of the campus that we may not need in their current uses, right? And there's all kinds of really interesting and exciting things, frankly, that can come out of that in terms of what's the intersection between, Vermont has a lot of needs, and so saying, and maybe a number of agencies that need physical locations, and how great would it be to an organization physically on a campus that also could be employing or have students there as interns. So, I mean, those kind of things are the things I think we have conversations about. And what I mentioned earlier is what we'd like for that to do is to be really organized fashion. So it's not a matter of, as we go, say, okay, don't do this building anymore, this building anymore, sell that off. It's vision with a certain portion of the campus being thought of differently in ways that are beneficial to the community, but then also beneficial to the campus experience and the vitality of the campus experience.
I mean, we're kind of our town.
Yes.
We have studio center. Is there connections happening with the college, the university, and the center?
I'd like for there to be more. Yeah, I mean, and there are planned conversations. Yeah, I mean, I think that, one of the things about the parks that's interesting is, we all know, unfortunately, of Goddard's recent closure. That was one of probably 3 or 4 schools with robust arts programming that have closed in New England in the last couple of years. And so Philadelphia, College of the Arts. There really are not many arts programs left in the New England region at this point. So, and there's a reason why the arts wouldn't normally be on a list of investment areas. It's because of just the numbers have not been there to support schools for which that's a predominant identity. That being said, there's always going to be interest in the arts. There needs to be a place for students who are interested in the arts to go, right? And you're right. This is a place known for the arts, has great robust facilities and so how can we do more, right? And I know that we are talking to students. So
My last comment is, I think it would be really helpful to the village and town if updates came from you stating what's going on, because we feel, I've talked to a lot of people and they feel like you guys are going away, Johnson doesn't matter, and it's really demoralizing. And I think if you can communicate better, we would really appreciate it.
Really noted.
Thank you.
Stop the rumor mill.
You're never going to stop the.
So, my name is Charles Blanc. So the music program has been closed and wasn't the media arts program closed. You're talking about, and that might be one reason, pulled a lot of, in reorganization, a lot of programs away. You're talking about now bringing a nursing program. I'd like to know, I have two questions in regards to that. One, are you bringing in any other programs besides the nursing program to help support the loss of what has been pulled away? That's number one.
Sure, well, as with all of these, it's kind of complicated answers to, so I'll try not to get too off track here, but one thing I will say, yeah, I mean, there's been recently a lot of really painful cuts and reductions of personnel and of academic programs right across the university. That being said, no way around that when the mandate from the state, right, is to reduce by $25 million in 5 years in order to maintain, you know, state support. And part of that state support has been predicated on and maintaining 5 vibrant campuses, including the Johnson campus. I was mentioning earlier that the relationship right now with the state is the strongest it's been since in my memory. And I was at system for nearly 20 years earlier. So in the last 25 years, I think the support of Vermont State University and Vermont State College System right now from the governor and legislature is the best it's been in that time. And you know, that being said, we all know that it's been not funded at the level we would have wanted over all those years, right? Which at the end of the day is sort of a core issue to all of us, right? At the end of the day, we have to, you know, if we want to continue serving students, we have to remain in existence. We have to be providing programs that are desired and wanted by students. And so it's a long way of saying that at the same, that we can't cut our way to, you know, success. There's a limit to how many things we can pull away. And frankly, I think that we've kind of been done about this. we're hitting bone at this point. Right? It's there's not fast and further. The flip side of that is, you know, we really need to be smart about how do we grow, where do we invest, and one of those areas is in new programs, and it has to be thoughtful and smart and research based in terms of what are the programs that are going to bring more students to our campuses and intersect with the expertise of our faculty and our campuses in terms of building out new program options. But new program exploration and insight. I was just in a meeting today with the chancellor talking about this. This is a priority. It's again, it's not for the reductions. Where do we need to grow? And you know, in order to do all those things, we have to continue to build support and build credibility with the state. And as painful as the last year was, one thing that we really did was build a lot of credibility with state leadership and with the governor's office, who I think frankly didn't think. And there was a lot of skepticism that the university failed to do all the hard stuff that it's done. And it continues to be. It's not like, I don't want there to be the perception of guilt. It's done. Still feeling the impacts of those every day. But it has bought us some bandwidth, some time, and again, the credibility to, I think, be going back and asking for additional support as we work to build new opportunities for students that are relevant. So we will be looking at new exit programs. So that's long, certainly your question.
So after this time, nothing else on the table but the nursing.
In terms of new programs coming in Johnson next year, nothing immediately.
Second part of this question.
Yeah.
You obviously have targets building them into your plans. What is your target for student participation nursing program first and second?
I would have to get those numbers. I mean, ultimately, what we wanted to, we're expanding this program to get up to the point of being able to serve 1,000 students across the state. In terms of target numbers, for specific to the Johnson campus, I would have to get them.
Will Randolph still have a nursing program?
I mean, the nursing program will continue to be statewide.
So we're going to just see a.
Well, again, what I can find out is what the you know, planned capacity of the Johnson program specifically is. I don't have it, but certainly, and these are the kind of things. If I'm going to have an answer tonight, I'm happy to we're going to follow up and circulate back to the group. There's huge demand for nurses. We could just keep opening it everywhere. Filling spots. Couldn't be experience. We cannot build these things fast and to certain students. Yeah.
Just back and forth.
I
And I have been involved with conflict of interest because for Vermont State University, I teach in the paramedicine program. I'm also a graduate of the program, the paramedic program when it was at Vermont Tech. And I had to go to Rutland regionally and do about 600 hours of clinical time to get the opportunities and the training that currently our paramedics can't get in to hospitals to get the training that they need, the hospital-based skills. And I'm really worried if we're going to have 1,000 more nurses across the state, in addition to the nurses that we're already training and the paramedics that we're training, there's not enough clinical opportunities. And that's just a program that I'm aware of. So as supportive as I am of Vermont University and the nursing program, I'm highly concerned that we don't have the clinical opportunities for those career paths. And I just wonder how many other career paths there are at the university, so reliant on things outside of the university, within the community, for example, and that those things maybe aren't being built up or available at the same pace that the school will be producing students that do.
No, it's interesting. So you're right. There needs to be investment, in the medical sector as well to support all this. I mean, but the feedback that we get, partnerships with the state is that if anything, that they need more students. They need interns. They need everything. It's going through and ensuring that there's appropriate clinical supports for all students at each stage in their program. Part of the assessment of those things come. Sounding like I do not have expertise in nursing, full disclosure here, but other than knowing that we need a lot of nurses in Vermont, we need nursing instructors in Vermont, and these are high-paying, really quality jobs that have a career trajectory low in. So it checks a lot of boxes in terms of meeting the mission of the university, and I think that it is a positive example of partnership with private and public industry, in that so much of what we're doing in the area is driven by the medical state. But I think you raised an issue.
They want the nurses,
Yeah.
but they can't devote any more time and energy toward helping with them.
Yeah.
They're already spread. And I also wanted to put one final plug in for making as many of the certificate programs, like my paramedicine, an actual degree program. We're so close to actually having a degree that it's a shame to not get that with the university education. And I think that I would be a supporter of having as many certificate programs turn into associate degree programs as possible, especially if, like in my case, I came in with a bachelor's degree already. And then it seems kind of weird to not have that count for almost an extra thing rather than not even an associate's degree. Okay. Thanks. I'm curious, what about the top 3 programs that's going on?
At Johnson specific.
I think every question can be felt.
Yeah. Right. Thank you. Well, I'll share this about. Let me start by talking about this a little bit, because you mentioned how there is such an association here. To me, Johnson has always been kind of the arts college out of the campuses of Vermont State University. When there was a look at trying to align programs thematically across the campuses, so that we had what they're talking about is like campus identities, right? So kind of themed programs that sort of go together or fit together. Some of do some of those art programs need to be So, but I think things that Johnson is known for, certainly according to the student services, the clinical mental health program, counseling program is really robust, really strong. I think that I don't know. So those would be like the top 3.
Well, one is a master.
Yeah.
But with the arts, the question about the center, you mentioned Goddard.
Yeah.
Then I reach out to try and get that program, get those students here.
Yeah. Faculty here actually. Goddard had a TCAT arrangement and which means they're the preferred transfer partner for Goddard. But as you can imagine, I think there's plenty of students who would rather not be paired up. Right? And so I do anticipate we'll be seeing some specifically on Jennison. But in terms of looking at making investment to have even further, more robust arts programs that mirror some of the degrees that were at Goddard, that's still an involvement. So you should see to assess if that makes sense to do.
And then my second question, you had mentioned about, again, at 30%. Not sure exactly the wordage, but there's a lot of buildings up there.
Yeah.
So like with Dibden, no longer having like the music. I think the theater is now at Hatfield. Yeah, so like that's an amazing building. Is that something is that one of the buildings that's being looked at? Like, what do we do with this thing? Benefit community, state?
So the question about Dibden, and actually I was just asked about this on campus today by the division. To me, it's the state of the art performance center at GTSU. And so it's not on a list of buildings that we see going away, certainly. I think we need to find ways to get more utilization. If not internal programming, then what other things could we be doing? I mean, we have reached out to the Flynn, but there's a lot of organizations looking to have more, and we used to do a lot of programming through the Flynn and other arts organizations in the state active. I think there's a chance to look at bringing more things in that are externally sourced and have them be at dividends and using them kind of performance venue for video things, as well as thinking creatively about what kind of things can generally internally, even if not through traditional means, but it's student love for other organization uses or what.
Art center in North Vermont.
I'm glad you mentioned dividend because that that's a particular thing that we need to get because that is such a gem, and we've got such great shows and performances there, and it's for folks who haven't been in there, who's there or it deserves to be, it needs to be used so to continue to forward.
Ms. Hill.
Yes.
I have a question about McClellan. What's the status of McClellan?
McClellan is empty and not doing much of anything. Yeah, I mean that's the status of McClellan. You may have seen there was a news story 3-4 months ago now, where it came out that there had been an earmark associated with the Bernie Sanders earmark, and it was what's the local organization? Well, right, exactly. Was caught to set off a little bit of a scramble because I think most of the folks who have been involved with having conversations about pursuing the grant for use of that building for that purpose were no longer affiliated with either Loyal Housing or with the university. So there is no immediate plan for the use of that building, other than to say that's the kind of use for it that would make sense, right? It's not on the market. Nothing is on the market. Yeah, I'm glad you asked that because, again, I think as we're going through this process, we have this university-wide committee, faculty and staff for master planning and working with consultants in this process, and they've kind of gone campus by campus and identified those buildings that could be targets for alternative use. And obviously, no surprise, McClellan is on that list. And Well, what we've not done is there is no specific building on any campus at the moment in which there are like ongoing right now conversations that we're planned for this. And that's gonna change probably soon, because, but I think there's been a desire. Look at this in a systemic integrated way. So it's not like, okay, phone's available, so let's sell that. But this is, let's sell that. It's like, how do we, because once you do that, that's what you're gonna tend to do. If product isn't your biggest and most desired facilities, you're gonna quickly offload, and then where are you, right? And then you've lost control of what's happening. So I think the desire is just to really have in a planful way, not indefinite. I think we'll start to see some of these things move in the next couple of years, maybe in the next year. I think there just needs to be enough due diligence first.
What about residents?
Same thing. I think that, yeah, the president. No, nothing is nothing is on the. But yeah, let's do the unit would be logic.
Peter. Get caught. Okay. What information? My question is, along with, but it was this news story. It sounded like it was a done. Then, whatever.
Yeah.
So, can you get that, but I'm interested in knowing that can really have ideas, feedback input into decisions like this before they're or show up.
Yeah. I'm gonna go two parts with that. It's a great question. And first of all, yeah, the whole notion of what was proposed was a lot of I mean, I don't think most people who looked at it and read it said, yeah, that makes sense. That seems like a reasonable thing. Like most people say they would want there. But again, I think we've been clear. The irony of the timing, talking about rumor falls. I had just had a meeting with the union leadership the day before, in which I assured them tonight that we are in no active discussion with any of them. Literally the next day, there's a news story saying this thing is happening. Well, there goes that credibility. But no, at the end of the day, this could be a great for but what we've done is we're not going to do anything this week, been able to vet it first and have conversations starting on the campus, and certainly engaging the larger community where appropriate to see does this make sense? Doing the due diligence and getting input there. This is probably a good time for me to introduce Drake Turner, who's sitting here behind Margo, and Drake works for the chancellor's office and is our legislative and government affairs director. So she spends most of her time in the state house in Montpelier, helping us build those positive relationships there and support there. But the identifying Drake here because in relation to your question, in terms of next steps and getting more community input, we are planning a informational breakfast in Johnson in a couple weeks, and I think it's the 26th.
It's stage
23rd. All right, Tuesday, July 23rd.
8:30 to 9:30.
Thank you.
And-
And
Breakfast.
how perfect is it? So I will be here. The Chancellor, Beth Malk, will be here. Joyce Judy, who's president of Community College of Vermont, will be here because it's really a look at how we're taking this on tour to our key communities to kind of talk about how the Vermont State College system can best support the communities that we're associated with. But a big part of that would be opportunity for input on physical spaces. And so if you're interested in attending that event, what I'm going to encourage, what's the best way to do this?
CP, one of many folks as possible at the joint really we will be a really robust open conversation with folks and as President Bergh mentioned, Chancellor Matt will be there, the CPD president. So I can leave my card here. I'm happy to share information with folks. We just definitely want to happy to do it.
I mean, it really is helpful. We want as many people as possible. So the RSVP is not to limit that. It's just to make sure we don't drive the food service crazy.
So Eric, do you have that information?
I do. I'll send it to the trustees.
Yeah,
tomorrow morning.
send it out on myself, please.
Yep.
So do you want them ultimately coming to your email or?
Yeah, that's my email. And I do need to check. Let me follow up with y'all about like the best way to get it out. But yeah, we see a lot of things will probably be.
Eric, get it to a board and send it out in the distribution.
Hi, I'm Alan LeBeer. I've lived here all my life and, I've got some pretty major concerns that's going on here. The rumor mill's been going around. I hear it in the store all the time. I heard, prison, I've heard, in housing, I've heard a rehab center. I don't think any of that is really beneficial where the college is or what the plan is long term there, because you don't want to integrate your student in there and have some where kids want to go there and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And one thing I'd hope the college could do is maybe inform or have the support of the trustees before anything's done up there. So we can have input into that, because you're a vital part of our community here. What happens up on that hill is going to make generational now and forever for all our kids and grandkids. So if you go up there and start Vermont, we're low hanging fruit for Vermont right now. They're looking for places to put people. They're looking for all this stuff. And a lot of towns don't want it, but Johnson State would be a great place to put it. I love the idea of the nursing program. I think it's incredible. I think a tech center, something up there would be incredible too. Anything like that, because we need people in these jobs. We're people desperate for people working HVAC and all that. So if you can inform us and make sure we're part of that decision, so we don't have like McCollumville. That was blindsided everybody. Nobody knew anything about it. You're 300 feet away from elementary school. We have no idea what's going in there. I don't think that's fair to the neighbors around there or the elementary school, or anybody else, or the trustees who didn't know anything about it. So you gotta be a good partner with us. And like, if you're gonna do a change of use on something if they're major, let us have a say in it. Get our support for that. You're supporting you for that, because I think that's the only fair thing to do, because we're partnering with you guys.
No, great point. And I think, one of the points you made right at the beginning there, I think is another critical thing that we have to consider, which is at the end of the day, we're still a college campus and we're part of a university up there. And this needs to be a desirable and exciting place for students to want to come to. So whatever we do up there, we don't want to take away from that, right? And that needs to be a driver. And that's why, again, we want to start every conversation we have about what we're possibly going to do up there with our campus, and then also obviously with the greater community, because you're right, you're partners in this, we're all stakeholders. And I think these campuses, a lot of people don't realize that when they were created, I mean, they were intentionally placed where they were to bring opportunities and to provide an anchor in some traditionally underrepresented parts of the state. If you look at where, Lindenville and Johnson and Randolph, at the time were not, it's not Burlington. And I think it's important for these places to continue to be the anchors economically and otherwise to the regions they serve. And the only way to do that effectively is to make sure you're communicating with the community to actually see what its needs are.
So will you make sure that you will, before anything goes on, that you will talk to the trustees and ask for their support, that we know what's going on?
Yeah, I think, and Bergh, we can flag this for kind of like a process flow chart or whatever those things.
Or have the chance to whoever it is, write a letter to the trustees saying, we're not going to change you until we get the support of the trustees or the flag.
I think,
and then we can put up the vote in town and
yeah,
do major changes, stuff like that.
What, yeah, I think that any significant changes we're talking about in terms of campus use, we definitely would want the community to get involved in it before.
And I think the town is just as important. The village in that. Granted, the college is.
Right.
But all the kids that are at the college, they're involved in the whole town, not just the village.
Every month it's all come back.
And I want to sort of remind you, at the time that I graduated, in the mid-90s, it was really vibrant. And there were like a ton of programs, and I think the key to it was that it was affordable. And there was a lot of students who drove in and stuff. So thinking of back to that, how do you make it affordable to the community members? We had waiting lists to get into classes and whole house. You know,
Yeah.
so getting back to creating that affordability for small communities and
I'm really glad that you mentioned that, and yeah, it'd probably be harder for us to change the drinking age back, right? But I think, in terms of the affordability question, we've been talking about this again, just today, we had a leadership meeting that was members of the chancellor's staff, CCV and VTSU. And I think a real push in this next legislative cycle is going to be toward affordability, and the way we can make things more affordable, frankly, is to work more effectively with the legislature and get them on board and be creative partners in that process. So, absolutely. I mean, I think, you know, I want us to be as affordable as possible and be a point of access for students as possible, and that will bring more students back in. I mean, I will just say, I mean, just to be a realist and to be, you know, upfront about it. I mean, we are not going to see again, in all likelihood, the student populations on the campus that were there in the 80s and 90s. 1985 is not coming back again to Johnson State College, right? And I say that as I'm a traditionalist myself. I mean, and so I always am understanding some of the people who have the hardest time with the way things are right now are the people who want it to be like it was in their experience, right? And I get that because, I mean, that was an amazing experience, right? It's like, of course we would want that. And unfortunately, that's, you know, not the world we're in now. So how do we try to capture as much of the essence of that as we can in the reality of the parameters we're dealing with?
Hey, Sunny Bella. I am a student at the university. I've been there for 3 years now, and I've seen a number of, I went in, I had COVID, so I've seen all the fun stuff firsthand. And I just want to say thank you for being here. And from a student perspective, I want to let the town know that President Bergh has been like the most communicative. That's not the, you know what I mean? And it's been really tricky watching the staff changes. And there's crucial staff and departments that are I think of, you mentioned facilities earlier, and I know that there's facilities plan and things of that nature, but it's really hard to see the buildings that are in use be consistently falling apart. And knowing that some of our key staff and faculty have been let go in the changes, and I know that that financially makes sense to some degree. It's interesting to see some of the staff and faculty that are still there. And I think that it speaks to enrollment when we have some staff that are looking at students and saying, I don't care about this university. And why are you here? That is a problem. And I'm sure know, because this has already been talked about, we've spoken about specific stuff before. It seems to be getting worse. And I worry that that's affecting students and our interaction with the community, because if we're coming to a university and say you're not a Vermonter, you come from out of state, and that is what you are getting, why would you come out to the community involved? And we need that vibrancy, and it starts with the staff that are there.
Really well said. I think. So I came into this role mid-November, I think, like within a week or two after the bulk of the employee reduction had been since fall. It's about the worst possible time to come into the role, frankly, but and so not surprisingly, I probably spent the first semester of last spring basically on what felt like an extended listening tour, which was really, frankly, more of an extended intake tour of people's angst and anger and sadness and the process and to tell their stories. And in there were also a lot of things that people really loved about these places and about their experience and that they, you know, and the reasons they vote for. So, so I get it, I know, and I also feel that we're also at the point now where we're turning the page as we move forward to this next year. It's like, okay, we've acknowledged, you know, the pain that has been experienced, and it's real. As I say, it still affects our day-to-day work. Those positions we've gone through is still affecting. So, but there is sort of a point at which it's like, okay, this is where we get burned. We perform a vital service to Vermont and to students, and as a point of access and a point of a place where they can realize success and have opportunities in life. And so at some point, people have to decide they're going to get on board with that and move it forward. And I think that's the turn we're making as we come into this next year. Because you're right. I mean, it's appropriate for people to have the opportunity to vent some of that. And there's a time and place to do it. And there's a point at which it becomes counterproductive and starts to kind of have a self-fulfilling element that has a real impact on, you know, the ability to recruit students and retain students, which at the end of the day is going to determine if we make it. Right? And so I, you know, I'm not saying that I think people need to stop raising concerns. And, you know, no, we need to, you know, we need to surface the things that we put. But there's ways to do it, and I think as we move forward, I'm really cognizant of the need. And we heard that message at the State House. Frank, they testified at the State House, at the Students Committee, and when I finished up, they said, you know, we've heard enough about the problems and the negativity and people's complaints and concerns. We want to start hearing about the positive things that are happening. We want to hear about the good things because we know there's a lot of good things happening. That's what we want people to come back and talk to us about. They're like, we get it, that it's been tough, and you know, guess what? Things are tough everywhere, and so figure it out. You know, make the best of it, move forward, and then come tell us about the good things that are happening. And it was like, okay, so and these are the folks supporting us and funding us. So. You know, we need to continue to provide a safe kind of environment in which people can raise legitimate concerns constructively for improvement. But in terms of like, yeah, at some point, this is the world we're in, and we need to work together to make most of it going forward. And I will say, particularly as it relates to Johnson, I mean, one of the reasons I'm here is because, you know, rumor mill and concerns become again kind of self-perpetuating. So you're right, when I hear faculty or staff in front of the groups of students saying, this is not the way it used to be, there's hardly anyone here anymore, why would any of these students want to stay here or be here? And they're saying this with students in front of them. And you're right, that does happen. It's, you know, that is a problem, right? And I realize it's part of their own way of processing their concerns, but I'd like to think that we've kind of are crossing that point. I mean, you're saying you're still experiencing it. You know, I would hope as we move into the fall, we're going to see a new dynamic.
And like I said, I've been a couple of years, and I've lost 2 of my programs, and I stayed at this campus. There is a reason, like, I will be on the pulpit till the day I die, screaming about how fabulous Johnson campus is. And how much I've grown and how much I have children that live up on campus, how much they have grown being a part of this community and coming down for community events. I'm so excited about choosing your bio. But it's really hard to do that when people in a position like we lost people who have worked there for 30 years who would have died for this, literally. And then we have some of the newer staff coming in that don't care and are literally just there for the paycheck, looking at it as a business. And that interaction is troubling. And I know you care about the campus, and I know everyone here cares about the campus. So that's why, like, I want to have the conversation and let the rest of the community know that there are some issues we still need to work through in the staffing department. And I don't want those support. Because I do really care, and I know I haven't even met you, I'm sorry, but I can feel like why you're here, so.
No, I appreciate that. And there's a lot in there that's hard to hear, but I think it's important to hear, right? And I do think it's funny how it's sitting on a lot of the things that we've just been talking about in earlier minutes today. And then another one of them is about culture change and changing the culture and doing exactly what you're talking about. We need people to, I mean, one of the things that was important to me in the spring, along with giving people the opportunity to kind of air their grievances, so to speak, and process that and have it validated, was also to try to have people have a chance to kind of catch their breath and refocus their work, right? Because there has been so much change at such an incredible pace that everybody's had to spin. And that's a hard to work in, get it. So that's why also to try to bring some stability, in which people can get back to focusing on students, which is what we're all there for. And if that's where your focus is, then we're going to be okay. And again, it's not that we don't want to stop hearing about problems or issues that need improvement, but I think again, there's a way to do this moving forward that's more constructive, and I hope we can get there. Kim?
Get back your customer service. I think we're losing it. Losing the customer service, especially with all these positions that was eliminated. And there, if you don't have the presence of, a registrar or a financial office. And, it's not vibrant. I mean, have your kids go there, there is no kids on campus, or there's nobody in the offices. Why would you want to go? I mean, I know that's why some of the, is because there's nothing there. And we need to figure out how to recruit and get students back on that campus.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you're not going to get it in what it,
It's good. I agree with everything you said. I think, I don't think we've hit our stride fully yet in terms of what it means to operate at the staffing level. I think we've made progress in 6 months. I think we're in a better place than we were 6 months ago. But yeah, there are still gaps. And we need to keep getting better at that, and those gaps affect the student experience. And so, and especially at places where they affect student experience, we need to address them. But yeah, and we need more students on the campus. Well, let me, over.
Nope, you're good.
I'm good. Okay, that wasn't an attempt to bail out. I saved my vocal cords, but no, I think let me talk a little bit about recruitment. I think that there are a couple, but even with, we hear a lot about the demographic drop off and how there aren't nearly as many traditional college age students in the Northeast and New England as there used to be. And that being said, there's a few places where I think we have great opportunity a few places I'll know. One is that, and this has been here forever, is in Vermont, there's still in Vermont, there's a bigger gap than in most states between high school graduation and college attendance. So that means there's still opportunity right here, even within the Vermont population, even though those numbers overall are smaller numbers, right? Second thing is, there is something to being now Vermont State University that gives us credibility and visibility out of state in ways we didn't have it before. And our admissions folks have confirmed that in terms of, you know, when they're in Denver or when they're in, you know, Atlanta, being Vermont State means something that frankly being Johnson or Linden or Castleton didn't, in terms of immediate recognition. And there are still a lot of people for whom Vermont, just the name Vermont carries a lot of cachet in people. I'll tell you another really positive thing is that we actually collaboratively with UVM, instead of seeing that as competitive, knowing that there's enough, you know, there's enough need for both of these institutions in the state. And UVM has been an incredibly popular destination for out-of-state students for a long time. Way more out-of-state students apply there than are getting into UVM. And UVM has agreed to, in cases of quality students that they are not able to take in, to refer them in our direction, which I think is a huge step. And it would have been inconceivable. So I think having the name Vermont, I mean, frankly, when I say this is the first year we've had a chance to really test that out, because you know, it was Vermont State a year ago, but if you recall a year ago, and I wasn't here, but the daily news cycle was full of negative news stories about things happening about the libraries and products and exactly. So one of the things we need to do from an improvement standpoint is not shoot ourselves in the foot during the middle of cycle, right? And so so far, knock on wood, we've mostly managed to do that this year. So I think there's potential there too. The other thing is we've got a group of really hungry, excited people really looking at our recruitment and enrollment strategies and marketing strategies. And what they're finding, and I say this is really good news, is they're finding a lot of places for improvement. And I keep telling them this is great, because if they kept coming back to me saying we're doing everything as well as we could, and we're at the numbers that we're at, then that would be a little concerning. So the fact that, you know, I think there's a lot of ceiling that, you know, between where we are and the ceiling in terms of our ability to do more from creative marketing and enrollment strategy standpoint. So, but again, I think balancing all of this with more opportunities for non-traditional students, for later in life students who want another credential, it might be a certificate program, who want to take the next level in their job, or who want to go back. I mean, that's always going to be a key part of what we're doing, but I think there's a lot more opportunity there too than what we've tapped into. So all of those are positive to me indicators on enrollment. At a time when, frankly, the higher ed landscape is pretty challenging. The national closure rate right now, believe it or not, is 1 per week. That's the national rate at which colleges are closing, one a week. And you know, so, and among those not closing, most all of them are cutting programs and or consolidating and merging. There's a publication called Inside Higher Ed that is sort of like the Bible for those of us that work in the field, that puts out daily updates. Sometime last November, December, they announced they were no longer going to run stories on academic program and personnel cuts on the individual campus levels, because it was just too common. It was happening everywhere. And instead, they said, we're going to just have a weekly listing. Every Friday edition, we'll just list all the programs and positions that have been cut at colleges across the country. So that's the environment we're in. And then when you put the whole FAFSA debacle on top of this year's cycle, we're also in an environment in which schools are seeing, those that are still plugging along, many of them are seeing real drop-offs this year from last year. And again, that's after just 1 or 2 years of semi-COVID recovery. So it's a very challenged landscape. And so I think to be where we are this year is a real positive indicator of where we can go, knowing that there's a ton of work to do. I mean, there's a ton of work to do coming out of COVID, coming out of all of the pain that's been experienced in the last few years with these reductions. I feel good in that context of where we are, because we're too important to the state to not go all in to make it, and too important to Johnson in this case.
Has anybody not had a chance to ask a question? Have at it, Don.
I have a daughter who has been a student at one of the Vermont State University colleges for a few years. And I gotta say, I've been really shocked at the poor quality of instruction, like really shocked. And I guess I'm wondering if improving instruction or engagement on the part of the professors is something you guys are thinking about or even see as possible. I mean, I'm sure you're not paying them very much, and I'm sure that's a big part of the problem. And I don't know if you have the ability to improve it, but I'm just wondering where that is on your.
Yeah,
on your
well,
radar as far as
that's not good to hear, obviously, and I will say, again, but honestly, and thankfully, that hasn't been common thread of feedback that I've heard a lot in terms of low quality instruction. That the list of issues, we've got plenty of that has not been high up there. But anytime that's someone's experience, that's something certainly we need to look at. So yes, I mean, there are mechanisms to address that. I mean, now I'm part of the tenure review process. Again, I know that not all of our faculty members get tenure, and that as part of that, there's a really robust review process that includes student evaluations, that includes classroom observations by peers. It's pretty rigorous in terms of the faculty and the review process. So anything like that, what your daughter experienced would be very concerning. And I would like to think it's outside the norm, but we need to find ways to address that.
Yeah, I guess I would like to think it's outside the norm. I don't know whether I should be reassured that you haven't heard about those kinds of problems, or if I should just be scared that you're not even aware.
Well, the student always appreciates every instructor that's out of the phone, right? And that you get periodic complaints or concerns. I guess what I'm saying is I have not heard that as a
That's interesting. I could tell you some stories that I would hope you would be shocked by. But yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that well, no, I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, that hasn't been a widespread concern, but anytime we hear of those kind of concerns, it's an issue. And yeah, I mean, we would pride ourselves on having really high quality instruction. That's kind of at the heart of what we're here to be doing. So if that's not happening, it needs to get addressed. Yeah.
Okay, so it's now 7:20, so that's been a good 40 minutes of that.
Yeah, melded into the
closer to 50 actually. I know everybody could keep asking questions. Maybe we get Dave to come back again this fall at some point in time where everybody can regroup and think about some more stuff, and he might be able to get some more answers for us. Well, you didn't have a chance to ask anything. I don't know if you're gonna repeat.
I got a feeling a lot of questions have been asked and gone through. I just want to reiterate pretty much the body here is that you will communicate more with us as far as, just let us know what's going. That's gonna be, make these people feel better and make us not so leery of what's going on the day go.
Yeah, I loud and clear, I hear that message and I get it, because I understand what happens with the overbill, which is when people aren't hearing information, they tend to fill it with their own, right? So, yeah.
So really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So in closing, Dave, I'd like to add that it was a wonderful, vibrant community in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
We all knew we were going to get the.
That's right. Johnson's population tripled.
Yes.
I'm sure just a bar wouldn't get you more there. Although I do miss the base lodge, it was fun.
Yeah.
But what I'd like to stress to you to pass on, and you, ma'am, to pass on to the legislature is what an economic impact college was for this community. And after the last year's disaster with the flood and stuff, any more impact or loss from that college could greatly damage our community beyond repair. We've lost many houses, many apartments, the grocery store, and so I can also see why some people would be hesitant to go to your college because there's not much in Johnson right now. But if the college could improve, it would come back to Johnson. So we tell this to our legislatures, and our representatives, and it falls on deaf ears. So maybe you guys could pound the drum a little harder and let them know that you have heard from many concerned citizens.
Yeah.
And I can't guarantee it, but Mike, I believe the select board was considering inviting them down.
I would imagine, yeah.
For something very similar.
Okay.
We talked about possibly doing it joint wise with the trustees and select board, but I know that they'll have different questions. Ours is mostly utility. But, I thank you for coming. The board thanks you for coming. The public thanks you for coming, and, we appreciate your answer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So for the public, we're gonna continue our boring meeting. If any of you are welcome to stay. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it. Eric will be in touch with you guys later on. Thank you.
Dave, nice speaking with you. Yeah. Actually. Oh, and they
It's 2 hours. Get the meeting.
Thank you guys for doing.
I got it. Thank you. It's gone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Great. You gonna be talking and asking about the select board tonight, or if you are, I might stick around. If you're not, I'll go. If you're gonna mention this at all, I'll stick around.
I think all we talk about is.
You just wait to executive session, to me about this, right?
What means? Don't.
Oh, that's true. That just picked up on the, this is still recording, but it's.
You don't really care much about.
The story of our life.
Even good work.
Thank you, sir.
Good fun.
Thank you. Keep trying on your end.
Can't believe nobody was for me. No, Donna stayed.
Yeah. Alex stayed.
Okay. Let's go.
We had the members of the public, but they all left.
I'd like to suggest we move,
I'm gonna jump Seth up, or
Yeah.
not Seth.
Alex.
Yeah, I'll wait.
I can just stick around, you know, with the rear end.
Go ahead.
You're good at it.
I'll give you some lessons. That's great. That's what I told everybody after I survived COVID. I said I had a few more years to pick a few more people on.
There you go. So Alec, you're gonna talk about the brownfield study?
So, we went out, and put out the request for proposals, we received 3. Those being from Weston, Sampson, Stone Environmental, and KAS.
They're all in your packet.
The 3 proposals, you're virtually gonna get the same thing out of all 3 companies. The biggest difference is gonna be cost. Stone came in over the allotted grant amount, so that kind of knocked them off the list for us. KAS right now is doing a lot of projects outside of Johnson for Vermont County, so they have a quite full queue right now. And Weston and Sampson came in right in the middle price wise. And they have historical knowledge of the site and did the area wide field study for that whole area back 10 years or so. So LCPC's formal recommendation is Weston and Sampson for this project. One thing you will get with them versus the other 2 is also questionnaires from this village, in town folks. So, yeah, that's the recommendation that, myself and Elwood came up with, you guys. You know, if you guys decide to take that recommendation tonight, we could, you know, have them send over a contract to you guys probably this week.
Well, I'm through the entire packet, what's the difference between KX? Yeah.
2075. So again, with over the allotted grant amount, Weston and Sampson, 3,500, which is under the, so the grant would pay for the full amount of Weston and Sampson study.
Would you like to make one?
So you're recommending
Weston and Sampson.
Weston? Okay, I'll make a motion, we authorize Weston to do the, or, sorry.
Weston and Sampson.
Huh?
Weston and Sampson.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Any discussion? Favor?
Aye.
Motion passes for Weston and Sampson for $3,050, is that correct? And this is the coring of the slab and stuff like that, starting that process.
What?
The slab, the inside the garage slab, testing that side.
So this, the phase one,
Yeah.
is gonna be strictly a, historical review of past studies. I believe in their work plan, they also have a site visit, but there won't be any actual testing of the site at this phase.
3,500.
3,500, not 50.
Correct.
I'd like to make an amendment to that one. I can't remember the price.
Getting your
Give us
price.
price, right? You get that down at 3,500.
That will be fully paid for with the Bergh thing that, Tori talked about.
So is this a process where, there's like different phases, and if you pass the first phase and everything looks good, then we keep going, and, or if there's like a huge problem, then that's kind of like, we have to stop and
Yeah.
decide some alternative thing?
So I know this came about because it's a known brownfield site and the renovation happening. Eric, do you know, is it only the phase one required for the CDS funding and renovation, or will they have to do a phase two?
I believe CDS is requiring phase one.
That was my understanding.
Yeah.
So
And
I don't think.
if they didn't find anything drastic, there might not even be a phase 2.
Right.
Okay. So the phase one will inform us on kind of next steps, which in the meantime, Eric and I will be working on the CPS request for the.
The timeline on that, obviously, said one company was pretty full up, but this one here ready to.
Yep, these typically take, you know, I'm hesitant to give the timeline just because I don't know it offhand.
2 months, 2 years, 6 years.
Shouldn't be more than a few months, I would think.
Okay.
And if timeline becomes an issue, you know, Weston and Sampson, you know, we work very closely with our.
It's been 3 years since we started this progress.
So, yeah. So, once that is given to you guys, decision will have to be made quick on what next steps are, but we are here to.
Well, we went by, the past information about setting money aside and for funding for other costs. So we're waiting. This garage is a sore subject. We'd like to get it done before we have to start building sewer plant.
So yeah, what I'll do is I'll notify Weston Sampson tomorrow morning with LCC Eric on it, and hopefully they can just send you guys over a draft contract and.
Excellent.
We'll get it underway.
Oh, do you want to authorize me to sign it?
Board's pleasure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Need a motion probably.
Motion Eric signed.
Second it.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Sign away, Eric, you get to pay the bill.
No.
Does that include fifth permitted?
I think it does.
Alec, was there any good news?
Box, I'm guaranteed he's not staying in a good hotel.
I didn't bring it.
That's all the news we're getting. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Alan.
Good night.
Rosemary.
Before Rosemary, I just want to do a quick thing.
Yep.
So tonight we're gonna have a little bit more stuff in our packet, but since we're busy tonight, I don't wanna tie Rosemary down with 1,000 questions. Basically, I asked her to add some things to the packet, which is electrical, sewer, water, monthly sales, quarterly comparisons, general account reconciliation, and then today's balances on things like sewer, electric, ARPA, accounts, water, CBI construction, etc. But of course, we can get more into it next meeting. I just don't want to get.
Yeah, this was to give
Way down.
everybody information, see if you like it, and if we like it, you know, send Eric an email and
Take her home, digest it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jay, thank you. Take one back down. Oh, it's supposed to take one back down. Whoops. Thank you. I didn't get it. These are, big balances as of today.
thank you, Rosa, thank you.
You got one, you don't want to take one.
Now, where is, the money deposit in CDs, that's last time, where is that? Oh, I think that on that's not on the list, okay.
Unfortunately, you were, how much time did it take that have to do all this stuff?
The thing I, you know, we thought of the net number,
It was not there.
no,
The other stack is mostly Marla put together.
You process, get information out of done. Long to take Marla.
Well, being the first, I'll have to ask what it'll be ongoing. Be the first time it took a bit, but now that she's got it going, it might be less.
If it should all be.
Right, it's putting it in a presented form, presentation form.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and she mentioned that when I came in that the first time, because it's been a little while, but as soon as that all gets together, then from here on out, it should be pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming the sewer department was the insurance that.
Some FEMA.
the bond, they. Paid off the,
The one that we got.
we're gonna have to, every quarter, we're going to have to pay some back with me now. I have to report at the end of each quarter. We want that, of whatever.
For the bond bank. Yep.
That interest invoice in there from the, to a credit when you out.
Mhm.
Anything else turned out? Scared you?
Yeah.
Then. Finances?
Yeah. Did they file the rate proof today? Was this week?
Yeah, that was in my report, but yeah, we finalized the rate case today. It's gone to the attorney for just final blessing, and sometime later this week, it will be filed with PUC for a 10.895 rate increase.
Well, that would still be,
About 5 to 6. Hopefully turn of the year. Yep. we can't actually, you know, get a full blessing until 1 year from the last one, which was December. Yeah.
Is there any other huge outgoes going on to the western part in the meantime soon, or the usage down that compared to last year already? I mean, I understand it could be because we have people not in houses. We also have compared to here, still all of it. You wanna read it to me? I forgot my glasses.
Still with the. Right.
Should have been on rate cases a long time ago when they started making us buy the removable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're selling more than we did last year.
Well, we're buying power that we only get paid a third of it for with renewable energy. And in another 5 years, we're gonna be buying another 10% on top of the 20 we're in. We're gonna move in those. Well, that's what they just said on the news. It had to be 30% by.
All right, only slightly more than I believe the legislature.
Pretty sassy around here. Isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I like it.
Go down. In some of the
Wait a minute, mine went up because I had my AC on.
Yeah.
Yeah. In general, though, it's less use in the summer.
Yeah.
Right.
With this year only built power bought through. April. Because the May bill is in that section.
Okay, so that would.
No, it's like things.
Okay, so we're not, okay, I got to apply. I'm not getting hurt with it yet, but you know, that's where the issues.
Yeah.
One, six. Okay.
But power sales are at 50% even.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. That's like in 2 months. Then. So we're at 33.
That's pretty close.
Terrible.
No.
I didn't see anything when it first came through, so. Me, I was glad. Nothing for this year.
I'm not gonna help this year a bit.
We'll be able to write it out for another year and be able to bring us closer to being on the bottom. You think, if we get the rate?
Well, we know there's some reduced from this year from the budget that we allowed.
Right, we've got a
Right, but that has nothing to do with purchase.
no, but
No, I'm not.
there's reduced staffing expenses.
That is for sure. All right, well, let's keep an eye on the expenses there.
But then with the water department, we had a couple of major breaks stuff.
Did they get the one up by the cemetery fix?
No, we've got Wednesday, we have a professional inspector coming in. They're zoning it the best they can and they bring in some of the high-end equipment to locate it tighter. It's just where it was first located, it wasn't anywhere near it. So it's acting a little curly. There's a possibility from reports from Nate that I'm not sure which house, but he's hearing noise on a service line that may very well indicate it's a service leak, which will be, you know, a homeowner issue, not a village issue. So not good for them, but good for the budget.
Anything else, Rosemary?
Inspection, or when we talk about tax rate?
Together.
Yeah, I don't know how it worked out, but
I
it did.
don't know, I seen my other one. Oh, we can blame him for that.
Exactly.
Yeah, there you go.
It's cool. That's the problem. Major hit. So we're looking at 18.
Yep,
Yeah, 18.
which is half a cent less than last year. It was 18.5 last year.
18.05.
Oh, it's 0.5? Oh, I thought it was 5. Never mind. So it's basically the same.
5,000 less.
Yep.
And that is with the grand list went down a little bit. But our
Now, is that all sugared off as far as? No, it's not. Is it? As far as the buyout, that's another year away, my understanding, right?
yeah,
So at that point, so at least a year from now, we're gonna see another hit. Is what you're thinking, or is there? Has it-
if the buyout's going to town owns the property, yeah.
Okay, we looking at for a number ballpark, so
I think there's probably so far.
Assessment's not till 1/28.
That's a problem. That's a big problem.
Why is it?
There's no games in town to do.
Right.
That's the problem. If we had our own listers in town like they used to, we could take care of it ourselves.
So we're looking.
Point store the valuation.
Well, with any luck, it'll be full.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of water.
Oh, no.
But just so you guys know, I get no word. Okay.
Say what, we're gonna get rain?
The Runners Management BM sent me a notice saying that you can high out, they got notice that there's potential for the end of the week for flash flooding. Up to 4 inches of rain.
What time of day did that come through?
This morning, it might come through.
Okay, because I've been kind of watching the weather forecast as the day progresses. And it's actually every couple hours, it's looking less rainy through that period.
Update tomorrow, I think.
Right, so it almost looks like that we're gonna end up skirting that thing.
Doesn't take much to skirt us, but also I'd say what I'm talking about. So.
Right.
Well, I'll make a motion. We do the 2024 tax rate at 18 cents. To raise. So hold this on closer. So this line here is saying 18 cents is 111,000. Down here is saying 100.
We need.
That's not what we need.
This is-
Okay.
this doesn't-
We're gonna have a cushion.
Little cushion, okay. So all you do is make a motion for the 18 cents. It doesn't matter what rate. Okay, so I make a motion, we set the tax rate at 18 cents.
Second. Any discussion?
You want 30 days? You doing 30 days or a longer period like last year?
What else I gonna do our, for the screws to do a little longer?
You know, if you went out 45 days.
That would be okay.
Wouldn't be terrible.
Give them the time. Everybody's still recovering. I don't have an issue with 145 days.
Would you like to amend your motion?
But I didn't put a time limit, so. Continue that motion with, give allowing, 45 days grace. And I'll continue the second with, okay. Second, whatever it is.
Yeah. Any other discussion? Do you get it? Did you? Yep. All in favor? Motion passed.
There you go. Autograph it, all of you. And send it back to Rosemary.
Whoop. Ben didn't work.
What's Greg done?
Oh, you guys?
Yeah, yeah, pretty good for an old man, you know.
Yeah, I know.
You missed the excitement.
I want to be that old.
I missed it, I heard, yeah.
It's on YouTube Live if you ever, get bored.
Oh, it is, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just read a little bit about somebody saying something about a recovery center in the college, and I just want to clear that up, that that's nothing that we've ever talked about, thought about, or gonna do anything.
Yeah, you weren't mentioned in it.
Well, no, but I don't.
But remember,
Yeah.
Mill being what it is.
Yeah.
The president got that down.
We had a girl that celebrated her 1 year tonight, so we rang the bell and had a barbecue and stuff, but. I just want to stop in and just, I don't know if it'll go on the record, but we're pretty much done building. I'm getting older and getting a little tired, and we've done our fair share of everything, so.
More than. We didn't come just to see you.
I love to see you guys. I just want to let you guys know so you can tell whoever said the word.
Thanks, Craig.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's all. Thanks, I appreciate it. Talking.
I thought I'd let you know. And keep
Thanks
up
for
the good
stopping
work.
by.
You got a lot of work ahead of you.
Yes.
But you got a lot of talent here. You're gonna get through it.
Thank you.
Greg.
Anything else, Rosemary? You sure?
Yeah.
There, guys.
It's awesome.
We made a payment, it was awesome.
Never.
Okay, Eric, it's all you, buddy.
Actually, would you like to go to Sue first?
Sure. Absolutely. Who's in? How are you?
Oh, you're not? Okay, where's Sue living? She's not here. You're right. I guess we'll skip that one. For now, at least.
Just so you all know, who I sent in.
Good. All right, there's been much progress in the FEMA claims process of late, with the majority of projects obligated and working through the federal and state systems. The focus now shifts to the big and long-term wastewater facility projects. On that, Wayne Elliott, Dan Kopp, and I met last week to walk through the project status and what it would require to rebuild in place up to current codes and standards and above flood elevations. This is part of the required process, regardless what decision is made about the wastewater treatment facility rebuild. As much as we've been focused on a replacement elsewhere, the plan the engineers have developed is for rebuilding at height in place is actually quite feasible. Flood resistant, and it may be our best bet. The major advantage of this process is that even if it goes over budget, which happens quite frequently, it would be a covered FEMA cost. The same cannot be said for if we move the wastewater facility. In that case, there's no budget flexibility. So there's kind of thing.
Well, I hope FEMA would help until passive screws over.
Right. Travis from Stowe Builders is currently working estimates for the flood mitigation work at the fire station and lower storage building. Once those are in and approved by FEMA mitigation, we will get that on the schedule ASAP. Our electric rate case is finished and in final legal review before being submitted to PUC later this week. We're requesting a 10.895% rate increase. And the office will be closed until 1 p.m. tomorrow, as all staff will be in CPR AED first aid training that Jason sourced for free.
Eric, what was the average increase on everybody's bill for that? Then do any, estimate?
I did not. I just got the number this afternoon. This is hot off the presses.
Can you do some rough estimating and shoot that out to the trustees?
Can do that.
Just to give us an idea of, so we can explain when we get hollered at because we're raising rates again.
Yep.
Don't look like it. It's all good.
You're gonna holler at it because we're raising rates.
No, I'm gonna tell them. Why we're over experience.
And we'll show you.
Yep, I get that out. Monthly chief operators report. Operation status at wastewater plant and callouts. EDMR and WR43 were submitted to the state. Hauled 40,000 gallons of sludge to Morrisville for processing for the month of June. Sugar Bush wastewater treatment facility came and got 3 loads, 12,000 gallons of seed sludge from us to restart their plant after an upgrade.
Couldn't spell that.
Well,
good.
Yeah, that's stuff we didn't have to pay to process. Yep. Mowed and trimmed all plants and pump stations and reservoir. Attended an in-person meeting at the village hall with Eric Perry, the planning commission and FEMA representatives, and then gave them a tour of the wastewater facility. Pumped out the rest of the partially contaminated alum into 2 totes. We will slowly feed that back in the system. We received 15,000 gallons of new alum. We were able to split a 5,000 gallon load with Morrisville, which gave us a savings of just over $1,000. QualCal calibrated and certified all of our lab equipment. Operation status of water plant callouts. Monthly reports were submitted to the state. Coliform samples were negative, and that's a positive. Rotated the pumps at Katie Wynn. Assisted the village crew with a leaking water main valve under Route 15. Assisted the village with digging for a leak on Lamoille View. No leak was found. Luke assisted the village crew flushing hydrants for 2 days. Finished painting at the water plant. We're going to use remaining paint to touch a few pipes and the floor at Clay Hill Booster Station. And he didn't give us the water off finish. Johnson Water and Light report. Electric. Mutual aid for Hyde Park, 6 hours. 1375 Clay Hill Road outage for owner digging up secondaries. Outage for Prospect Rock Road, lightning strike. Outage at 70 Katy Wind West, blown transformer fuse and broken cutout on pole 294 in the Gulf. 249 Gould Hill Road outage for bad breaker. Consolidated set 2 poles. 282 Lamoille, Lower Main West, and 11 School Street. Talked to the Consolidated about River Road East pole attachments, which brought up our joint ownership agreement. Still working on that. They're going to be paying us for new attachments. It's a short part of that. Outage for main transformer maintenance. That was I forget what week, but Monday and Tuesday. That's when we announced all over the place. And I mean, they were thinking 8-10 minutes, gave up 15 minutes. Neither one of them exceeded 3 minutes.
Yeah,
they were quick. It was pretty awesome. Trim trees at 1066 100C and Sinclair Road. Complete your monthly meter reading, high-low check, substation check, and big saves. Water and sewer. Replace sewer manhole base and top by the Woolen Mills that was hit by the pavement miller. Dug a water leak at 65 Lamoille View. No leak. Still looking for it. Flushed hydrants. Town hit the hydrant on River Road East with a brush hog. Waiting on parts to fix it. They'll pay for it. Located water valve and sewer manhole at the entrance to Park Street for pavers. General painted crosswalks. Hung banner for the flood remembrance event. Worked at town clerk's office, removing files from the vault. Worked in the patio area at town clerk's. Helped the town out with a truck driver. Replaced pump in the cold spring. Removed a tree that fell on the sidewalk at 95 Railroad Street. In safety, Jeff took a welding class through the state, and there was no NEPA safety training meeting this month, and that is because I had them cancel their first aid. That was $660, then to attend the free one tomorrow. Okay. Call, oh, yes, no, go ahead. All right. Johnson Fire Department report. Calls, the FD responded to 8 calls, 6 occurred during the day, 2 at night. Average duration was 50 minutes. There were 4 vehicle crashes, 2 automatic alarms, 1 vehicle fire, and 1 odor investigation. Average number of firefighters responding was 10. Total service hours were 63. Other. We had 2 firefighters attend a 3-day rescue boat operations class in Vergennes, achieving individual state recognized certifications.
Were you on the phone?
We hosted the JES kindergarten class for a station tour. In cooperation with the Green Mountain ATV Club, our department and Northern Emergency Medical Services participated in a UTV orientation to familiarize responders with recreational vehicles, construction hazards, and possible Yeah, I can't even say it. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Techniques for getting people out. The planning exercise will lead to a hands-on UTV crash training later this fall. We are grateful to the Green Mountain ATV Club for being a partner in these efforts. Made by the chief. There we go.
Did you go over the code error thing in your report?
I actually thought we were gonna talk about it as we were going through. They're changed.
All right, so did you highlight the ones that were missing?
I didn't see them, I mean, I didn't see them specifically, but I did the big we're gone.
Right,
Okay.
right. The only place you'll see woo is because I didn't know really what to do on page 7. On the crew sick vacation holiday, we put in the amount which put it well over budget because budget was 0. That's how the budget was built. I mean, if I was to change the budget, which you voted on, so I can't just change it on my own.
Correct.
The budget for that would, where it says budget would be $55,679. So it'd be at 68%.
So next year you'll just put it in a different line for.
I'll put it in here yeah.
Yeah, so you'll just make sure that it's corrected for next budget.
Correct. But I said, just for background, if anyone wanted to know, that would, it would have been 50,000 and we'd be at 68%, which with all the vacation they're taking to play catch up, that's, to be expected. Yeah, it's the time of year.
Well, they're also using up past PTO.
Right.
The time limit up.
They're done.
Oh, I have one thing, progress report, for June on the training with Susan. The Rosemary, Eric and Susan.
Yep.
You're future planning.
That's, I guess that goes back to the trainer. Okay. Yep, it's been a lot of vacations plus office moving and such. So, yep.
So you have some kind of update for us next month, just so we can keep it in our memory. Yep, that's all we have for.
Yep.
But we can keep moving forward a little bit.
Excellent. There's Sue.
Susan, how are you? We're gonna jump right to you, so you don't have to hang out and be bored of us.
It's actually right on for her turn anyway.
I don't know how.
But don't false us for that.
I'm here to keep them on track. There's plenty there for everybody, so just jump on in.
Background of this project, so I'll start from the beginning. Tree board needs to replace the 12 of the good gold I know. The pages of the graves, the main tree trees need to be taken out. The graves are lifting because of the roots and they're becoming a hazard. Some of them are dark,
The cages are too small and trees are growing into them. So we came up with a plan that Nate and Jason actually came up with. And I can.
Well, chainsaw.
Don't steal my word.
It's in a sewer system.
Kind of thing we have in mind is a 4-inch steel bollard like this with a decorative top, filled with concrete painted black. And instead of these fence sides, we're gonna do a layer of chain, double layer chain, like that. And we got the money for that in a grant. And the town informed us that you guys needed to take charge of it because it's a village trees. So that's where I'm at. I need somebody to build it.
So do you need to redo the grant because the town started it?
No, we have the money. So I need to know, do you have any insight on who might do that for us?
Well, let's back up just a little bit. So the grates that are on the ground that, not the cages, but the cast iron grates that are around the base, aren't them made to be cut as the tree grows?
They are.
Okay, so that second goes to my second question is, what are we gonna do when the trees start lifting our sidewalk, which they already are? School Street, or not School Street, right on the edge of Pearl Street, Nate said, and one of the ones on Main Street. Okay, I could be wrong on the street then, but Nate was just saying the other day that 2 of the sidewalks were lifted approximately an inch and a half around them, so. But if the grates are cut like they're supposed to be, won't they stay down?
The other reason is pull those up, weed under them and put them back. It's labor intensive, time consuming. You got volunteers who don't want to do that. And we'd really like to just be able to get in there, weed it, put mulch over it and walk away.
This might be an odd question. Those trees, how big are they supposed to grow? Are they the type of trees that grow like these out here? Are they stunted at like 10 foot, 8 foot?
They're gonna wreck the side trees.
Because that's one of the reasons I asked, because if it's a tree that's gonna have the ability to grow big, then you're talking about a big root ball, you're talking about the roots, you're talking about lifting sidewalks. If it's something that has the ability only to grow like 8 foot tall or something to where it's a mini tree, then you're not gonna have to worry about none of those issues at all. So I didn't know if that was taken into effect when they were initially put in.
The first thing they look at is the size and also how hard it is and how much salt, how much wear and tear, how much hold it can take. There aren't a lot of trees that will grow in a street pit, especially on a street like that, it gets so much salt pollution. Last year we put Amalank here in front of the merchant bank. It's under the wires, but it only gets 10 feet tall. You don't need to worry about that. It's more of a shrub, really. The same type of tree that's out here, it's the back door. So we do take that into account. When Green Mountain Landscaping those trees in on the Main Street project, they threw a tree in a hole and they didn't pay attention to what should go where. The tree that's next to them, that's on Temple, that's too big, was supposed to be in place of that one laminate that's over in the green that has plenty of space. It should have gone. This, we like to do anything about it. We didn't have a tree board then, but that's why we have it now.
But you didn't mind the grant. What's the timeline on getting that grant built? Start getting the work done?
By the end of next summer.
And next, okay, so we got time to go through this.
You don't want it to go up by waiting. I said, you don't want it to increase by waiting a year.
It's already. System down there, Arboretum, things have already increased and we're dealing with that after writing the grant to try to get that done. Just what we want to do. As far as the tree protectors, we'd really like to get these projects done this summer because next year there's $600,000 in tree money available and we want to be planting a lot of trees along the river. For flood resilience and the Arboretum and any place else that needs a tree. And frankly, the tree board isn't big enough to do all those things at once. So we'd love to do it. As far as that system, Nate came up with that idea. Jason came up with putting concrete inside of it. They were all told with the snowplow to go around it and how it would work. And the grant people funded that project.
And you have somebody put this in?
I'm sorry?
You have somebody to build this and put it in, or is it already pre-made?
No, you should be so. The idea was, the road crew, the town road crew wanted to do it, and the town decided they couldn't do it. Because this is village property. So they suggested I find somebody else.
So how many of these, do you want to do?
Not gonna do the one in front of the Chinese restaurant, because there isn't quite enough room to get the skid steer through there.
You got 13,000 you said about thereabouts?
Actually, we have 12, because we've spent 1,000. We've spent 1,000 on some.
Okay. So you're looking to be able to get it installed for about $1,000 a piece.
So that's 48 bollards. One in each corner of the pit. The other good thing about this method is, it's going to be the least amount of damage to the roots.
It's village up there. Injecting the attachment for the, okay, for the. I don't think they do actually. These go.
Well, is it something if we gave, if the town had the equipment, if we gave them permission to do it? If there is no
Town's out. You have a select board member right there and the town don't want to touch it.
I'm not gonna speak out of turn.
It's your turn.
I'm just asking you guys.
Did they say they didn't want to do it just because it's in the village, or they needed permission to be able to?
I can't get a straight answer to them.
Then simply the town don't want nothing to do it. So my suggestion, and this is only my suggestion, is that you guys need to find a contractor. Not us. And
We don't, he didn't have time.
Our crew doesn't have time to do it, and we don't have time to do it. So, yeah,
right.
What is the maintenance plan for these down the road? Are you guys repainting them? Because we get all this opportunity for you to get grants, for the rail trail to get grants and put stuff into our facility, and then everybody wants the village to maintain it. And the village is like, bro, we can't take on a lot of stuff, you know what I mean? Right now, we have bigger problems down there and stuff, so I'm not trying to be rude and all, I'm just saying, do you guys have a maintenance plan going down the road to make sure that these don't get rusty from the salt from the sidewalk? Because if you're expecting our crew to go out and paint them every year, that's not gonna happen right now.
Shouldn't. Penny's done. Justin down at Denver House offered to do it as a donation. He's using some sort of special enamel on it. It's possible he might do the bollards. I don't know that he donated. I have no idea what he charged, but he felt that the finish would be more reliable. To answer your question, yeah, we can continue.
Just because we've been having discussions with our board and starting the process of looking at any town committee wanting to do projects needs to present a maintenance plan for their projects after. Because it's becoming cumbersome to the village, take on a lot of the, now added
certain things we knew we had to maintain, we did not know because it's the new board, new manager, stuff like that, so. What's the board's feeling on it?
Well, I'd be willing to make a motion to give the tree board.
Before you make a motion, just let, you want to give Dave a chance to talk or something.
Sure.
Just in case. You have
You
thoughts on it?
After a motion, but
I don't really know too much about it. I think, that I'm not sure that it's realistic that if there's salt involved, there's bound to be a fair amount of maintenance, it sounds like to me. Just like our vehicles with.
yes and no, I mean, if fire hydrants made of metal, we don't paint those every year. They're right in the salt path as well as these bollards will be. That's my thought anyway, is that, look at what's pre-existing, what metal maintenance is required to do on those things. I mean, it does have to be done, but not every year.
Yeah, you're probably talking about $200 every couple of years.
Right.
Okay, and they'll be black? Black, okay, that's, so that makes it easier to.
Those appeal to graffiti artists, let's have them. Right.
We live in an alternative.
Concrete to me is gonna be worse, absolutely worse, it will deteriorate and then you block the product. With steel, it'll start to rust, you paint it, and you got another couple, 3 years before it starts to become an issue. As long as you maintain the oxygen barrier on the metal, it's gonna last longer than concrete, trust me. Yeah.
If they were core 10 steel, if they were core 10 steel to start with, it wouldn't affect it at all, because it's self-healing.
True. But price point's gonna be a little bit higher, you think, or?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just know that a lot of the bridges are core 10 steel.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, I want the grades because I love them. I said, I'd like to know what you're doing with the grades because I would love them, but we can talk about that later.
Feel great at painting. Let's crack that. What do you want to give the building? So I would take a motion to give.
Okay.
This first, everybody okay with this design?
Can you pass?
Yeah, I'll.
Right, but you're the change.
Here's the change between the bollards.
Sure.
Yeah.
They're in here.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful.
All right, so.
That looks nice.
I think it looks better than just the.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
So I definitely look into that steel too. Yeah, to see if it's in your price range that he was talking about.
That would be the contractor. Because I'm sure they're gonna buy the ballards, or if you already purchased. You haven't purchased these yet, the contractor was purchasing.
Nice.
Motion?
Yeah, let's make a motion. Yeah, give the tree board authority to remove the current rate system around the trees and replace it with this 4-poster bollard system in between the posts.
As long as they stay within the meeting of the grant.
To use their $30,000 grant, no funds to be coming from the village taxpayers.
One thing I.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Thank you for all you do. Yes, we have already done it. I know, a little bit of. Oh,
We weren't like this out.
okay, that's the question I'm finishing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Steve? Nick, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
All in favor?
We just authorize, we do all the work.
Yeah, I know. Sorry,
Have to get 3 estimates.
actually, village just 2.
I stay corrected. No.
No, he was joking.
But we do need 2 estimates. Just so you know, for procurement policy.
But is it okay if they don't, are able to get to it?
If they can't get to, they back.
Yep.
Right. Start with any landscaping company, just start. Just the yellow page of landscapers, that's starting, who they recommend if they don't do it.
Or welder, welding or CW fabrication in Northside Park. They're metal people, because we don't know. Oh, yeah, some built stairs can be put from.
What unit?
Owned by Mac in Northville.
Yeah, so you just, there's a couple of them, there's one in Northside Park, and I think there's 2 in Northville even, metal fabricators and. There's one right before Matt's store as you're heading into Morrisville, in the left. He's got an art figure out there. No, they would probably be your best bet because these would need a cap on top of the Ballard. If it was filled with concrete or if it's only with concrete and stuff, but I would assume.
I
So,
heard the purchase of film.
but yeah, for somebody to install or do the work. Eric authorization, just accept whatever bid falls in. I'll have to come back. So we're all on board.
Because they have to stay within their budget, so.
So you just moved for Eric to give permission?
Yep.
Second?
Second.
Any other discussion?
Thank you.
Favor?
Aye.
That makes sense,
There we go.
Thank you.
So you be.
So yeah, so just get all to Eric when you get your estimates and, you know, pick one that he likes or you guys like the best and your stuff. And then make sure to just you'll coordinate with Nate when you know they're coming or whatever.
Yep.
We can make sure he pretends a lot, just in case you didn't know. Okay. All right.
Good, he needs it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank
Sue.
you.
Down Village website. So. Here. Show you. In there. Saw the email and it was sent to you.
Right. I mean, town's not sure which way they're headed and we don't know if we want to follow. That's what it comes down to.
Although the town wants to do a new website. Or are in favor of it, if say, is that correct? So. We have a couple options, work with them, try to find a new website, had a hell of a deal, since how they have 17 committees. And we're gonna take up a little portion.
Like 11 or 12, not 17.
You've been gone for a little while.
That's it. If you count them on the page, it's 17. Okay, I'm just
Keep working you over.
You were paying attention to my comment, he's been gone a little while.
Oh, I know.
So I guess our options are either to say, yeah, go ahead and look into it for now, and then we can decide later. Do we wanna, if they get a new one, keep the old website, which means then we gotta change email addresses and all kinds of other crap. But
Why do I have to change email addresses?
because it won't be the town of Johnson, if we have our own website, it'd be the village.
Let me answer this. I don't mind the idea of a new website as long as the price we're paying now kind of stays around that general area. But they don't know the overall price yet, right?
Well, they know it's gonna be way more than what they're paying right now.
So our fee would be way more than we're paying right now.
I would assume that, but you know what happens when you assume.
Yeah.
We're hoping it's gonna be less.
I can't believe it.
Oh, springs eternally, on.
Yeah.
I mean, this almost segues as being one of the topics for item 5.
Yeah,
Joint meeting topics.
that'd probably be it, because without knowing the price, no one
Well,
can afford it.
we can. move forward. We have information. Yeah, we need them.
Basically, the email was asking if we're even interested in looking at another site.
I don't know. Need upgrade?
Yeah, it's not very common.
Okay. Terrible. Well, you just, think you cannot be, even Bolton's.
Oh, beautiful, no, yeah.
They have a nice.
Well, then that's a quick meeting, let's look at it.
Sure.
It's free.
Right.
And that's the thing, until like, we know prices. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna go with consensus, so you can tell. We are interested at this time to see what the price is.
For the record.
Oh, yeah, beyond my technical.
Yeah, you can say small town like Bulkhead has a better one.
Right. We'll just put a copy there.
Okay. So
Cambridge.
Eric's gonna send Tom an email and tell him, let us know what,
Mm-hmm.
and that would be topic for joint meeting. Johnson Works discussion. Put off. Joint meeting topics.
My big one that I brought up a little while ago,
But yeah, we got a select board member.
This would make a difference whether I was here or not. I don't have.
my thing, and I have a peeve about, is all that land sitting down there, useless.
What land?
The land down by the
190 acres.
still feel we need to bring that up with them and see about some sort of split where we can have full ownership of half.
100%. Right?
You're making a note of that, Eric.
Yeah, the town needs to.
Just remind everybody, it's the village's fault for inviting the town to be a buyer in that land.
We have to talk to the
Probably just
trustees.
Actually, that's when we had money.
Just being,
We used to have that handy side bank account then. Rosemary, take it, go to Vegas, double it.
Actually.
Okay. So that's,
anything else you guys?
the other
think of?
topics was gonna be,
I'm sure the town didn't bring up. Their list.
oh, that'll be a discussion, sure. What the hell was the other one? Me and you had? You write everything down now. What did you delete? I can't remember any of the other topics, but I know there was more. Is that, Steve, do you have anything that you'd want on for a joint discussion? GiGi,
No,
I know you have a lot of things you'd like to have for a joint discussion, but anything of priority? Okay, so that one's still open. We've got time.
I didn't think about it.
Is this open for discussion?
So let me just hit Will real quick. You got any topics for joint meeting?
I'm with BJ on that. It's that town.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
personally in there.
That was on her, me and his agenda for it anyway.
That's a big thing.
How about the municipal office?
What about it?
Town ownership of the municipal office and the village paying rent.
Are you asking my opinion or the board's?
I'm just saying that's a topic for discussion.
So I would say.
It doesn't, you don't have to
No,
give
no,
me an answer.
No, it's a discussion, so. Which side do you land on personally, now as a select board member?
I think the town should own the municipal office building. I think it would be good for the village to have a fixed rate that they would know how to pay, what they would have to pay per month. And the town would assume all responsibility for this office building, all maintenance and everything else, and then the village would just pay a monthly rent, which you could budget every single month or for your yearly budget. You wouldn't have to worry about all of a sudden a $50,000 expenditure that you would have to come up with the money immediately. And I think it would be cleaner for the village that they rent and the town to own the building.
Well, I think that's a wonderful idea personally, because I am really finished with the village paying 50%.
Well, I personally think it's a ridiculous idea because then we'd lose any say in it.
Well,
And the village is half owner.
But it would
I
be
don't
funny
think the
if
town
it
would want us. To half the value of the property. They would want it for $1.
I don't know what the sentiment of the board would be. I can't speak for the other 4 members.
No, I'm just.
All I know is that we would have a discussion about it and try to come to something equitable for both the town and the.
So the only way that I would be a yes vote is if there was an MOU or in the rental contract that the town can't hang any banners, they can't hang any flags, they can't put anything on this building unless we agree to it.
But wouldn't that be us if we?
Because, or you could, exactly what would happen, we gave up our vested interest.
You could. Agreement that nothing could be done to the building except paint and clapboards and the building. I agree with you 100%. There should not be any banners or anything on this building whatsoever.
I bet you the trustees be happy to give you the mill house.
Excuse me?
Can I read that legislative?
Steve, no, you could throw that in there too.
What, yeah, I'm not sure. Like to see what, I mean, I'm interested, you have a vested interest, I'm not sure what the advantages to us would be other than. You know, I see that it would give us that ability to have a nice clear expense, but I don't know what the disadvantages would be. I'd have to think about it.
My worry would be if we decided to move that plant up into here and we.
Well, that can't happen unless we can purchase property from.
But that's why I'm saying, if we went the other way, it would kind of like defeat the purpose to me.
Did you just say earlier?
But before this goes to.
Yeah, this was just.
We're just,
Yeah. So that's gonna definitely be on the agenda, I'm sure.
And you could also throw in the mill house too.
Yep, so you should.
Part of the whole discussion.
You should send that suggestion to Eben for joint and we'll both hit it up when he comes time. Eben and I have put off the joint meeting, waiting to find out about the library grant and possibility of all the other stuff. That's because there's no reason to, we have nothing pending to meet for besides that part right now.
So, I mean, okay, just we're on topic, it's rarely less expensive to rent than it is to own.
Right.
Fixed costs are nice, but I would need I need a minimum of a 5-year lease at an X price, then some sort of a percentage max for the rent increase beyond that.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at to even consider the possibility of giving up, relinquishing the village's rights to the building and yeah, that's.
But would you still have?
I'd have to have that discussion before I would be a positive vote on.
Right, this is just basically whether we're gonna.
Yeah, I know, I'm just saying, I'm just putting out there, the initial thought is, my initial thought is it's usually more expensive to rent because the renters are paying for it.
That's why I purchased land in the place.
Yeah. But fixed costs are nice as long as they are truly fixed costs. And that would have to be with an agreement.
Oh, sure.
So.
We would never do anything that would be perceived as underhanded.
Right.
We or you?
Well, I always have to look after the trustees.
Thank you, your guardian angel.
We're his first floor.
I got it. Well, so yeah, so we'll add some more thoughts in for the agenda and then I'll touch base with Eben. If anybody pops anything in their head that.
Just not during your season or after dark, one of the other.
No, it's gonna be probably the end of this month, beginning of next month. Whenever they can fit it in, they like to have all kinds of meetings.
Okay.
Yippee.
All right, any other business? Anybody?
Yeah, so having adjusted for the meeting tonight with, water sewer report, electric report, stuff like that. Is there a need to have the foreman come in? To do a report that generally is just informational?
That's why I went up and asked him. I asked him if he was coming to ask for more money. And he said no, and I said, well, there's no need for you to.
Yeah, I know the rest of the board's feeling it, but I mean, there's really no need to hold these guys after hours or have them back to be able to read a report to us, unless there's an issue where they need to explain something to for a budgetary item or something like that.
Yeah.
And we can leave that up to them and Eric to make a decision if they need to meet with us. I would say we do away with the foreman coming in and doing a report. I'm sure it's something they need to get permission or something that in detail they need to explain to us.
I know we did have them come in quite a few other times for FEMA updates and stuff because of.
Right. And that's relevant. Other than that, as a general rule, I'd say let's nix the foreman coming in to do a report when it's just a report.
I think Dan wouldn't have no issues with that.
Yeah, I can. Yeah. So,
Yeah, I'll tell him. We already,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
no, he didn't really had a need to, it just seemed he always wanted to.
Cause he
Yeah.
actually schedules his stuff in Morrisville, so he
Right.
can just come down here.
Yeah,
before he goes
well,
home.
I'll remind him that he did, I'll remind him he doesn't, yeah, I'll remind him that, you know, it's not
I don't
a,
think he really
it's not a
likes to see it
requirement.
that much, so, yeah.
I'll be trying, I'll remind him it's not a requirement.
Stuff, like it is a cost when Nate comes in, right?
Yeah.
Because he's charging us by the hour.
Right, that's, and Nate doesn't come in unless I specifically tell him he
Right.
needs to, which is rare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Nate
I
is
agree with
going
you,
to-
Yeah, so you got.
Tell Dan.
That's it.
Tell Dan.
Did you have?
It was gonna be, but we put it off. They're doing some more research and.
We're doing research on an alternative. We want to present something that might be feasible and less complex.
Yeah. Safe to say, it'd be illegal to have it under the auspices of the village, the real.
As long as it was a committee. I have the
Well,
same
that's-
information your board did with the pass through for money, because that's technically money in order.
It's not really. That's what I'm
It's
investigating.
the exact definition of money, so.
I'm talking to the Secretary of State. If it's a restricted account, it's not. That's what that's why I want to be.
Talk about this, or we doing later.
No, we're doing it because I don't have all the information. I don't feel comfortable.
Okay.
I don't even know if it's feasible yet, so that's why. No, that's okay. Thank you. Just missed that memo. Yeah.
I think our manager missed it.
Because I
Nice guy.
But as a result of those conversations, I realized I needed more. So I was not prepared to.
Okay.
I sat for this whole meeting to talk about real here and you didn't have. Isn't that amazing?
No, we're not gonna take that one out.
No, we're not gonna take that. You're gonna what? We're done for 2 hours.
Thank you.
Okay, you guys gotta get going.
Yeah. We're gonna be entering an executive session. Okay, Donna. There will be no decision made, but we'll just tell you when we're done. And there is a decision made, I don't believe there is. And we'll go from there. He's gonna get ready to
Boy Scouts in the bottom.
Still working on that.
So BJ, you wanna?
Okay,
Does.
going in there for executive session, one, VSA V 3 1, wait, is that a V or is that like an arrow or something down there?
It's section, it's just it's saying section,
So
yeah.
one, VSA section 313A1. Trustees have made a specific findings that premature general public knowledge of confidential attorney-client communications would put the village at a substantial disadvantage. That was it. Okay.
We have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion?